We're here to talk about proper use, safe operation of one of our new Consolidated Autoclaves located here in Hanson 116. It's a nice machine, nice and shiny. One quick reminder, whenever you're doing any autoclaving, please wear the right PPE, which involves autoclave gloves, lab coat, eye protection, and no open-toed shoes. You also want to make sure that whatever you place in the autoclave is autoclavable, including the tray. So make sure you're using the proper tray. If you have questions, get a hold of us. We'll let you know. When you come up to the autoclave, often the screen will be lit. If it does happen to be dark, then just press the screen and it'll light up. You're going to have two. The first choice will be between a gravity cycle or a liquid cycle. Gravity cycles are designed for dry goods, glassware, pipette tips, essentially anything without liquid in it. It has a very quick exhaust at the end. The liquid cycle is designed for items with liquid in them. Typically flask with auger or water or solutions, things of that nature. It has a very slow exhaust at the end of its sterilization cycle, which makes the cycle longer, but it helps prevent the liquid from boiling out of whatever container it's in. If you change that pressure very quickly, then the temperature will rise very quickly and you'll lose into the pan what you're wanting to autoclave. The next choice, once you decide a cycle, and I'm going to go with gravity because it's a little quicker, is time. Gravity has 3 cycles listed here, 1, 2, 3. One is 15 minutes, one is 45 minutes, one is 60. Same thing for liquid, 15, 45, 60. If it's a small amount of things, low amount of time will do the trick. If you're putting, you got this thing stacked full and you want it to be 45 minutes or an hour. Liquid, same thing. If you've got 10 flasks full of water in here, then you're going to want a longer cycle. If you have any questions about that, let us know and we can help you decide what cycle you need to use. So I'm going to pick gravity. Number 1 with the 15-minute sterilization. Gives me the information for the cycle. Put the glove on. I'm going to load the unit up. The door should be closed when it's not in use to keep heat and steam inside of the unit. It's just a little more energy efficient and it doesn't heat up the room. So when you do open it, even when it's not been used, be very careful, keep your head away from the front, keep your hands away from the front, because there will likely still be some steam that comes out of this unit. Inside the chamber, you can see it's nice and clean. Got a flat gasket that if you were to notice any damage to that gasket, we need to know that and it won't work right. You don't want to see a lot of debris inside of it. The way this autoclave will work, it injects steam at the top, and it forces air out this drain at the very front of the unit. If this drain is plugged, it's not going to operate correctly. So, once you determine that it's good to go, your autoclave safe tray, plates inside. Make sure your load is contained by the tray. You don't want anything off the edges. You don't want anything touching the walls or anything like that. All right, this is a nice single hinge door. Closes easily. Turn the handle clockwise. And essentially tighten it as much as you can. I do not believe you can over tighten it. So tighten it nice and tight. Come over here, and it's ready to go. Nice green button, press to start. The first thing the autoclave will do is purge the chamber of all air that's inside of it. It wants to get rid of the air inside of the pan, inside of anything that would be in the pan, and it'll do it by sucking air out and by forcing steam in. It usually takes a couple of minutes to run through the purge cycle. It indicates it as conditioning on the screen. This unit does a nice job of listing all the different stages that it's in. We do ask that you hang out through this period of time. Wait before leaving, go ahead and sign up in the signing sheet, which is over there in this particular room. We do want to make a point of having people sign in each time they use it so that we can track who's using it, how many people are using it. It helps us generate money for replacement, for funds keeping them going. So we really need that information. So please do take the time to fill in the sign-up sheet. So it looks like we're still in, it's stabilizing the temperature. So it's working on bringing the chamber up where we want it, which is a good temp now. We're waiting for it to be happy, and it's starting its cycle, its sterilization timer. So now we've reached the sterilization stage. It tells you that, and it's going to count off 15 minutes because that's the cycle we selected. If it was 45 minutes or an hour, then it would be that amount of time accordingly. At this point, everything is likely to be functioning well. You don't see any steam coming out of the door. You can return to whatever you were doing to come back at the end of this period of time. So we're going to let it run here for 20 minutes, and then we'll pick up at the end. While we're waiting for the other autoclave to run through its sterilization cycle, I did want to show a troubleshooting aspect of how to deal with some of these doors that have a wheel rather than doors that slide up and down. One of the things that can happen is that as the gasket ages, sometimes it's hard for some to get the door closed tight enough initially, which can create a steam leak at the beginning that some people are intimidated by. So let me show you what you'll need to do. It's not as dangerous as it may seem. I'm purposely not tightening the door quite enough, I think. I'm going to press gravity, one of our gravity cycles. Now, typically, you'll start to hear, it sounds different, so you can hear that steam, something's leaking. You probably can even see at this point where it's coming out around the frame. Do not call the fire department, all right? If you're really afraid, you hit that button there and it'll shut it all down. But what it really needs is it needs to be tightened. And we're good to go. So, especially with PPE on, don't hesitate to try to do that. Now, if in your effort to try to do that, it's not working, then yes, absolutely. Hit that button right there, and it will turn everything off on one of these consolidated machines. Which is a good thing. But realize that a lot of this is about how tight you make it. Now, caveat to that, let's say you're 250 pounds and you really tightened it down. Runs through its cycle. You're finding that you look at your gauges In this particular case, ignore what it's actually showing. But if you see at the end of the cycle, chamber's at 0, and you still can't open this, you need to try to tighten the door first, then go back to opening it. That is, if you just start going clockwise, then sometimes this will bind and you won't be able to open it. So I'm letting it run through its cycle. So we finished the sterilization portion of the cycle, and it went for 15 minutes. Kicks into what they call a drying cycle at the end of the sterilization for a gravity load. If you were running a liquid load, it would say cooling rather than drying. The function of either cooling or drying is to remove the water and the condensation that will form on the outside of what you've autoclaved. The longer that time is set for, the more effective job it does. If you have a lot of issues with that, you can talk to us, and certain cycles can be modified and a special cycle can be designed as well. But it'll dry for probably most of the remaining time before it starts to exhaust. So we'll wait for the next stage, which will be exhaust. So we're getting close to the end of the drying cycle, and if it was liquid, it would say cooling. Here shortly, the unit will kick into exhaust. And there, at the 30-second mark, kicks into exhausting. For the gravity cycle, it pretty much opens. It exhausts fairly quickly. Pressure drops quite nicely. Gives the cycle successful signal indicating everything's good to go and you're good to open the door. A couple things to keep in mind about the door. If you've been able to tighten it really tight, once in a while when you find it's hard to undo the door. When you run into that situation, try to tighten the door first. Tighten it more, even if you can hardly move in it, and then bring it back. And then it will unlock the interlocking mechanism here, which is a safety thing. Otherwise, open it up all the way. Understand that steam will clearly come out of here at this point. This is the point to really keep your face back. Some people kind of come up close on what they're doing. Try to resist that urge. Try to keep yourself back. Make sure you have your gloves on and eye protection when you open the door. That wasn't too bad, which is what that drying cycle was designed to do, to try to remove steam, remove moisture from the chamber. At that point, just recognize it's hot, take your tray out, close the door. You don't need to latch it, just leave it closed. You can see it's reset the control panel for the next person. Jacket's hot, chamber's at 0.